Greetings, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. Recently, as I have mentioned a few times over the past few months, honestly, I have been working on making a video about performative activism. I think there is so much that needs to be said about performative activism and its many forms and the positives and negatives, etc. It is a massive, massive topic. And whilst writing this script during this week, I kind of got sucked down a related but also separate rabbit hole, which is TikToks from people talking about why they left the left. In doing that, I ended up writing like 5 pages worth of things to say about this, and that's too much of one topic to include in one video about a big topic, right? I think we can all agree on that. So what I thought I would do instead is make a little like a series about performative activism, right? Like I've already got my performative male video that went up recently. If you haven't watched that, do go check it out. It's one of my favorite videos I've made. It didn't perform very well, so I think YouTube was, like holding it back or something. I don't know. Go check it out if you haven't watched it already. I have today's video where I'm talking about why I left the left, like people who were leftists and are now conservatives. But I am still also going to make a big video about performative activism in general. So if you would like to see that video whenever that comes out, please do not forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notifications so you do not miss it. I will be trying to get that out soon. Talking about subscribing, I am trying to hit 500k subscribers by the end of the year. I am currently 10k off, and that is a lot. So I need 10k subscribers in the next month, which is a very big task considering right now my monthly average is 2. But I've done it before, so, we can do it again. So if you aren't subscribed, please do consider subscribing. It would be a fantastic Christmas present and early birthday present. My birthday is in mid-January, so I feel like that would be a really nice little present. And also a present for you as well, because you get to see my face more often, which is always a win. And even if you think you are subscribed, please do check, because sometimes you think you are, but you actually aren't. And over 50% of you are regular viewers, but you are not subscribed, so that may be you. Yeah, I will be uploading more videos along the lines of performative activism and different ways that it takes shape, and I would love to talk about that with you all because I think it is very important and also incredibly frustrating, as with most of the things I talk about on this channel. So with all of that being said, the theme of today's video is ex-leftists, ex-liberals, because these people don't care to tell the difference between a leftist and a liberal, and it's gotten all muddled up even though they are absolutely not the same thing. One thing I am sure you will notice about these ex-leftists, used in quotations because were they ever really leftists? We'll discuss that shortly. One thing you'll notice they have in common is that there is 1 or 2 reasons that they all share pretty much word for word that is very interesting, and you will notice the pattern of it very quickly. Keeping that in mind, let's jump into it. Let's have a listen to some of these people telling us why they left the left to become conservatives. Because why wouldn't you leave the side of compassion to go to the side of oppression? Why would you not do that? First up, we have this woman who is a Christian life coach now. And she put text on screen, an eyewitness's perspective of Charlie Kirk's assassination, part 11. But like that is irrelevant to this TikTok that she makes. I don't really understand why she needed to put that on the screen. But ignore it. It's not important. Anyway, the TikTok.
What happens is that our empathy gets weaponized. I wanted love and peace, but I also hated Trump, hated Christians, straight white males, of course. It really strained my relationships for a while. I started to think my family was bad people. I got somewhat radicalized at my Christian university in Texas. I remember specifically one of my professors whispering to another student, "Shh, I'm actually communist." When people like Charlie and Candace talk about this underground communist takeover, it's real. I hated Trump because of clips that I saw taken out of context. I would weaponize those against my family and other conservatives. And in 2020, I was home, I had health issues, I thought COVID was gonna kill me, and I was actually cheering that maybe it might kill people because I thought we were overpopulated and we needed to save the environment. That's not to say I don't care about the environment, but human lives are infinitely more important.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. She said a lot of things, and there's a lot to say about a lot of those things. One of the things she said in the middle there was about how all of the things she saw of Trump was out of context, and she started to use that and like use that out of context clips to like share that information and to spread that and talk about these things that she never looked further into. Remember how just before I said that there is going to be a common theme amongst all of these people? I feel like it speaks for itself that it is this. It is the taking things out of context and talking about things that you never bother to look into. That is something that all of these people have in common. But because they all have that in common, I will come back and talk about that in a moment, because I feel like right now there are a couple of bigger things that she said here that are just kind of what? She said that her professor was a communist, right? Her professor at a Christian university went up to a student and said, "I am a communist, by the way." And then obviously that is shocking. Oh my goodness. This man at a Christian university is saying that he's a communist, a belief that is not Christian. It's and saying that Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens are right about a communist underground takeover that is being talked about, and like they're secretly trying to take over. We're not quiet about it. Like, I don't know why you're sitting here being like, the communists are secretly working together to overthrow us. It's not a secret, and we're not doing it quietly. I think we are very openly talking about communism and the fact that we are communists. That is something that we are actively vocally saying. And I think that like it's so funny to be so shocked and upset about someone like spreading an agenda and their beliefs when you are a Christian life coach who uses your platform to spread the gospel. So like a little bit of a hypocrite, I feel, in there. And also just something that I have to ask all of these people who say stuff like this and are like fear-mongering about like communism and being like, communism is bad, they're working on a takeover. Do you know what communism is? Do you know what communism is? Can you tell me what communism is and why you think it's bad without just saying, because the government told me? Because that's what I was told my whole life. Do you actually know what it is and what it means? Do you even know what capitalism is and why capitalism is good? Like, why is capitalism good and communism bad? Why are these your beliefs? Tell me what they are and why you think that. 99% of the time, these people cannot do that. They cannot give you an answer to that. It is just because they've been told that. And then they turn around and say that we're the ones who are sheep and listening to everything everyone is telling us. Girl, if I'm anti-capitalism, obviously that's not what's happening, considering we live in a capitalistic society. I don't know. Food for thought there. I think it's also really important to note that, like, if you are going to university, you have to be open to learning things. Like, going to university to just have your beliefs that you already have reinforced and validated, like, what are you even learning? What is the point in going to university if the only purpose of you being there is to be surrounded by people who agree with you and affirm your beliefs? Like, you're meant to be learning and expanding your worldview, and I just don't understand what the point is if you're just going to learn things you already know. Like, even if you don't agree, at least learn why you don't agree. Right? If your professor says he's a communist, ask him why, you know? Have that conversation. Find out what communism is and why you disagree with it. If after you have a conversation you still don't like it, fine, but at least you've been open to learning, which is what you should be doing at university and in life in general. And then, the best part of this TikTok, obviously, is at the end there. Being like, when I had COVID and thought I was gonna die, I was actually kind of relieved that it would kill people because, you know, overpopulation is a problem and I love the planet and I think that more people should die so we can love the planet. You do not speak on behalf of leftists in this situation. I don't know why you've managed to convince yourself that that is a strong leftist position to hold, but I guarantee you that it is not. It's not. I would say overall, like, leftists stand very heavily on the other side of this. I remember talking about overpopulation a few years ago based off of more what I had like heard than like thinking about it too logically, right? It like made sense, but I hadn't like looked further into it, right? And I spoke about it and I got a lot of comments from leftists being like, hey, by the way, talking about overpopulation and how the population needs to shrink is actually a very capitalistic view, because, you know, if we have like a lot of homeless people and a lot of poor people, there is enough houses and space for everyone. Like, we have enough resources for everyone. However, we do not utilize that, right? Like, there are so many homeless people, but there are a lot of homes that are empty. But we keep the homeless people homeless because it's like a message being like, if you don't work hard, if you don't provide, if you don't contribute, this could be you. So like, a lot of homeless people existing is like a weapon used to motivate other people to work harder so that they don't end up in that space. Like, there does not have to be homeless people, but we keep people homeless for that reason. And then as a way to sort of excuse that without, you know, showing that sort of agenda of like, we like homeless people because it means that we're pushing the economy by forcing people to work, by using fear, it means they can then be like, well, the reason there's so many homeless people is actually also just because we don't have enough space. There's not enough resources, there's not enough housing, so obviously there's gonna be homeless people. And, you know, the best way to deal with that is if they all just die. There won't be a homeless problem if, you know, poor people just die, then it's okay. And you know what, that does happen. That is something that is going on. And so like, talking about overpopulation in that sense of saying we don't have enough space or resources, it is incorrect. I do have thoughts on like population growth and the environment and things like that. That is something that I think is a conversation, but not in this sort of way. And I definitely am not wishing that people would die. I think a declining birth rate is not a bad thing, but I absolutely am not wishing for entire groups of people to die. Are you kidding? Especially when it comes to COVID, is that the people that were dying were the vulnerable people. Like, when it comes to like pandemics and like plagues and things, and it is like the vulnerable people, it is the poor, it is the people who get like neglected by the medical system for like their race or their gender or what, like, it is targeting minorities and oppressed groups. Like, none of us is sitting here being like, oh, I'm actually kind of glad people are dying. That's not a thing that's happening. I don't know if you remember this or recall this, but it is actually the left who are pro universal healthcare and accessible healthcare for everyone, and pro the vaccine and everyone getting vaccinated to, you know, extend life, to preserve life. So I don't know where you got this idea from, but the left all just want everyone to die. That was you. Don't put that on me. I'm not there with you, and I don't know a single other person who thought that. So I think that that's a you problem. Next up, I found this other woman who talks about why she left the left, and she has a lot to say about it.
So you wanted to know a little bit more about why I left the left? And there were so many reasons. And it was like a big hit to my pride to do it as well, because when I was on the left, I was like the stereotypical leftist. I was yelling at people. I was in arguments on like social media all the time, calling people names. I specifically remember regurgitating information that I had heard from like some other TikTok or something that I didn't even comprehend, but it just sounded like it worked and it sounded smart. And I would just regurgitate that all over the internet to like anybody that I could. But then as soon as they started like asking me questions on it, I would just start yelling at them because I had nothing else.
Oh, look at that. The point that I mentioned just before has come up again. Wow, what a shock. This does come up in every single one of these, by the way. This is a common recurring theme that every single one of these people has, and it's so funny and frustrating because they all state this point as though this is a fact and something that is shared by everyone on the left. Just the fact that, you know, we see things and we share them without ever looking any further. We like hear a few keywords and we're like, oh, this is good, and we reshare, we repost, we retweet, we send it to people. We don't ever look any further into anything. It's all surface level and just like remembering a few little lines to say, but none of us actually care, none of us actually know. If anyone questioned us, we wouldn't be able to like stand our ground. All we'd do is like show them a tweet that we saw because that's the extent of our knowledge. And like, just because you never took it upon yourself to educate yourself does not mean the rest of us have not done that. Yeah? No one is telling you to just get defensive and start yelling. In fact, I myself and like many others would tell you that that is actually the worst thing to be doing for your case. If you are being asked questions, you should have your answers ready to go. If you are not prepared to like have a conversation about something, you shouldn't be starting a conversation about something, especially if you're doing it with something that is important and something that people might push back on. Like, you have to know what you're talking about. You cannot be sharing your political and moral beliefs if those beliefs have been entirely put upon you by other people. If they are other people's words that you have not digested and you are just spewing out because they sound right, because it gets you the validation you require online, because it makes you feel good because you've done something, then like you aren't actually a raging lib or a leftist. You are someone who is playing a part. You are someone who is putting on a show in order to please the people around you, to feel good about yourself, but you don't actually care. You aren't a leftist. You aren't a raging liberal. You are just playing a role that you think you need to be playing. In order to actually be a leftist, you have to actually know what you're talking about and actually hold those beliefs, not just saying what you think you should be saying. Those are two very different things. And you cannot then be sitting there and accusing everyone else of doing the same thing. Like, just because you're uneducated and you don't care doesn't speak for the rest of us, yeah?
And it's so funny because I was raised by conservative parents and my whole family is conservative. And so I had moved to a bigger city out of my parents' house and I became like an extreme lib. And my whole family was like, "What are you doing?" Like, they still loved me, but they were not very happy with me. And there were many times I got into it with my family members too, and it was ugly. Like, I almost lost my family members because of how insane I was.
This is another thing you notice amongst a lot of these people, is that a lot of them were raised in conservative bubbles. They're raised in these conservative environments where their beliefs are not their own. Their beliefs are the beliefs of their parents, of their family members, their friends, whatever. That's where their beliefs are. It is reflecting what they have been told. And then they leave that and they go somewhere else, into a bigger city. They go into a more like leftist liberal environment, because apparently those are interchangeable even though they are not. They go into more of a diverse environment, right? And then they are learning from these people and they're picking up on those beliefs. A lot of the time when these people leave these conservative bubbles and go into the wider world and they meet people from different walks of life, they do genuinely develop different political ideologies, right? Like, they see that, you know, queer people are people too. And they like engage in these conversations and they genuinely like learn more compassion and understand their own beliefs and things better, and like develop their beliefs and morals and things from that point of just having a wider view of the world. However, there are a lot of people, such as these people, who just kind of stay in that same sort of mindset of like, they've never actually developed their own opinions. They are just absorbing and reflecting the opinions of those around them. She entered an environment where, you know, all of her friends and all of her classmates and everyone around her was sharing those beliefs. Like, they were all leftists, so therefore she developed those morals and those viewpoints. But it wasn't coming from a genuine place. It was coming from a place of like just wanting validation, of like wanting to fit in, right? It was like, well, this is what these people want from me, so this is what I'm gonna do. And maybe convincing herself that that's what she actually believed, but considering there was never any thought or research or anything that actually went into it, it was just like a surface level, well, my friend said this, so I'm gonna say it too. Well, I saw that on Facebook, so I'm gonna say it too. Like, it wasn't any deeper than that. It was all surface level. And because of that, once again, that is not being a leftist. That is not even being political. It is pretending to be. Like, you can try to tell yourself as much as you want that that was you being a leftist. That was you copying people in order for them to accept you and like you. And I understand we all want to be liked, but like, it's not the same thing. I think that you should really give it a go to try to care about something outside of just your own self-interest. And I don't mean pretending to care about something, like genuinely actually care about something, right? And then I have to like flip that question a little bit and think about it of like, A lot of the time when they go back to being conservative, it is once they leave these other environments. Like, you'll notice they're all around sort of uni age, right? Like, they go into university, they're around all these people, yada, yada, yada. They leave and they may go back to their families or more conservative areas, or they get to like start over new in places that have like more mixed politics or whatever. That's sort of when they come out of their shell again as being conservative. And my question that I have for them in that instance is that it's like, are you genuinely actually like holding conservative values in like a political way where like you know what the conservative politics are and what they stand for? Or are you conservative in the way that it protects you? Being a conservative just means you don't have to care about anything, and that includes not even looking into conservative policies or anything. You just like don't enjoy having to care and know things. So you're more sitting in like a neutral, like moderate point, but moderate is conservative, right? Or even when they become like MAGA or going so far the other way, like, are you doing the same thing? Are you just once again absorbing and regurgitating information just from a different person and different group of people? Or do you actually care and believe about that? I just want to know. I just want to know. She also made a follow-up video on this where she gave some more reasons, because people were like, okay, if you're thinking this, you were definitely not on the left in the first place, like, go away. And she was like, excuse me, yes I was, and here are some more reasons why I left. And let's get into it.
I was also really tired of self-hate and of hating myself because I was born white, and believing that I was racist because of how I was born. And even though I'm not racist, and I know in my heart I'm not racist, I still, even on the left, would have to deal with people saying that I was racist all the time. And I just had to like accept it and just be like, yeah, I know I'm racist. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And it's like, I don't have to apologize for my skin color. Like, I thought we were past that as a world.
Internalizing white privilege as white guilt is not mandatory. You don't have to be doing that. You do not have to feel ashamed or guilty to be white. No one is telling you that you have to feel that way, right? And if people are telling you that, you have the power to recognize that you are privileged, not racist, right? By people saying you're racist, ask them for evidence why, right? Like, because if you have actively done or said something that shows you are in fact racist, it is good to know what that is so you can learn from that and not do it again. If they are just saying you are racist because you are white, have a dialogue about that. Have a conversation about why they're saying that and what they actually mean, right? Because there is a difference between having white privilege and being racist. Just like there's a difference between having white privilege and abusing white privilege, right? So it's important to have a conversation when these people are saying this, so you understand what the reason is, and like understand that you do not have to feel guilty or ashamed to be white, obviously. Having white privilege, like being white, doesn't mean feeling guilty. It just means knowing where you stand, right? It means being aware of the privilege that you hold. It means paying attention to the way you are acting, the way you are thinking, the way you are speaking when it comes to people of color, right? Like, we all grow up with subconscious biases, right? Like, we live in a world that is racist. Like, we see microaggressions every single day. We are surrounded by racism constantly. And a lot of the time when it comes to things like microaggressions, you may not even realize that it is something that you are thinking or something that you are doing because it has just been so normalized. Like, casual racism is such a like thing that is happening constantly, and you may be participating in that without even being aware of it. So the point in like understanding and accepting that you have white privilege is being able to pay attention to that. It's being able to catch if you have a thought that may be racist and you catch it and you're like, that's not an okay thing to think. Where did that come from? Who taught me that? Like, how is that there? And you challenge that thought. Maybe you go to like correct someone or speak over them even though they have more knowledge than you, because you have that subconscious bias of thinking that like you know better than them because you are white. Like, you may not be aware that that is even what is happening, but if you were going to like interrupt a like black person who is speaking, think about like why you were interrupting them. Would you interrupt them if it was a white person? Like, you have to catch these actions and these thoughts, question them and challenge them. That is why it is important to understand white privilege and accept that you have that, right? And everyone is going to have these subconscious biases come out in different ways. And especially if you grew up in a conservative household, especially if you grew up in a white conservative bubble, you are going to have a lot more of these subconscious biases and these thoughts coming up than a lot of other people. Like people who grew up in like very like leftist open households and like diverse neighborhoods and things are going to experience that most likely a lot less than someone who grew up in a conservative household, right? So you just have to pay attention to that and be aware of that. You have to, you know, use your privilege where you can, recognize it. It means like listening to people of color if they are telling you you are hurting them. It is listening to them when they ask you to do something. It is like elevating their voices when people will not listen to them. It is just being respectful and understanding and like not ignoring people when they are speaking and like asking for help. That's all it is. You don't have to feel guilty. You just have to be aware. And like these people also like love to say, I'm proud to be white. What's the problem with saying that? Like, what is the problem with saying I'm proud to be white? Then they get mad and confused when we tell them that they can't just be standing here being like, I'm proud to be white, because it's giving white supremacist. Because they always like clap back with being like, well, Black people can say they're proud to be Black, so why can't I say I'm proud to be white? And there's a few things here. So firstly, you are allowed to say, like, you're proud to be American, you're proud to be Swedish, you're proud to be Australian, you're proud to be XYZ, you are proud to be from whatever nation you are from. That is fine. But you cannot say, I am proud to be white. And the reason that, like, Black people can say I am proud to be Black is, firstly, in the US, they don't know where they're from, right? Like, that was taken from them. That piece of their history and lineage, that has been taken from them. They don't know what country they originally came from because they were taken from their homes, sold into slavery. So they can't have that like pride of a nation. They don't know what that history of their ethnicity is. And even if they did, it wouldn't matter to you, to most white people, because let's be real for a second, most white people cannot name 10 countries in Africa. Do you know how many countries are in Africa? There are 54 countries in Africa. And I feel as though most white people, especially white Americans, can maybe name like 5 or 6. And guaranteed, all of them first are gonna say South Africa, and then they'll like struggle from there. It is literally like people refer to it as though it is a country, right? We refer to it as though it is one place with one shared language and one shared culture. It's like, oh, you're from Africa. Oh, they're from Africa. Oh, they're African. It's not a country. It's not a country. It is 54 different countries. But like, people don't care. They just see a Black person and go, Africa. They are going to then say they are proud to be Black because that is all you see them for. You do not see them as a person from a country. You see them as a Black person. And like, yes, they can and should say they are proud to be from whatever country in Africa they are in, but it doesn't mean anything to you. It's the same as like Asian people, right? Like a Korean person could say, I am proud to be Korean, but like to a majority of white people, that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything. You just see Asian person. You put them in the box of Asian person. And you can see that in the way that, like, you know, when we're talking about asking for representation and things, it's not like I want to see more Japanese people in the media. I want to see more Korean people in the media. I want to see more Chinese people in the media. It's literally like, I want to see more Asian people in the media. One Asian person will get something and you're like, see, an Asian person got something. They're not all the same thing. There are so many different countries and cultures and languages, and we act as though it's just one lump of the same and everyone is the same, and that like they should be happy. Like a Korean person should be happy if a Japanese person got something. No, no. That is not how this works. That is absolutely not how this should work at all. We are the reason that they have broadened their identity to a skin color rather than like a nation, an ethnicity, a culture. Like, we have forced them to identify with a skin color rather than where they are actually from. And like, you can see this even more in this like generalization and how we do it based off of skin color rather than actual like culture and places, by the fact that when Indians call themselves Asian, a lot of people are like, no, you're not. You're not Asian. You're brown. You can't be Asian. India's in Asia. Guys, like, India is in Asia. Indian people are Asian. But we have, like, taken this term Asian and made it into a specific look. You have to be East Asian in order to be Asian, because we have decided what that means, and it is based off of how you look, not based off of where you are from. We are the problem here. We are the reason that they have to identify with their skin color rather than where they are from. Like, that is on us. Not to mention, there's the added layer of the fact that white people have spent centuries colonizing the planet. Like, we have attempted to force whiteness everywhere. There are recent examples of us trying to breed color out of races. Like, we try to breed whiteness into races. Like, that is a recent thing. That is something that still happens. Like, white people are still trying to erase people. Like, that is something that is actively happening and has been happening for centuries. So when you say you are proud to be white, you are, like, perpetuating that idea of, like, whiteness is superior. Like, it holds so much more weight. Whereas people who say, like, I am proud to be black are saying that, you know, they are proud to be a part of a group that has fought against oppression. They have fought against a global power. They have fought against people trying to take that away from them. Like, they have been actively oppressed and hurt for the color of their skin. And they are proud to not have let that broken them. They are proud to exist despite that. We don't have that as white people. So, one, we have narrowed people down into viewing them as nothing but their skin color, and everything else about their identity and culture doesn't matter outside of how they look. So therefore, they're going to identify with that when they are in your presence, because you won't listen otherwise. And secondly, you are not, there is nothing to be proud of for being white. You don't have to be ashamed, but like there's no pride in it either. Yeah, you've not done anything to earn pride. I spoke about that for way too long, but I hope that made sense, and I hope that you understand.
I think another one of the reasons that I left the left was because I was tired of being a victim. I was tired of everyone telling me that because I was a woman and because I was bisexual, that I was somehow being oppressed by literally everyone and everything all the time.
The point of being reminded that you are oppressed is not to build a victim mentality. It is not to push you down and tell you you're never going to get anywhere. You do not have to internalize it that way. The point of telling you is actually to empower you, right? Like, it's to make you aware of the world around you. How you internalize that is entirely up to you. As a queer woman, I am aware of the fact that I am at a disadvantage in certain areas of my life. I know that people will treat me differently in specific situations, right? There are going to be people who just view me differently and treat me differently, and that is going to be a negative thing a lot of the time, and that is due to those factors. It is helpful for me to be aware of that, so that I can call it out, so that I can push back, or even just so I am able to validate myself and tell myself that it is not my fault, right? Like, there's nothing I could have done in that situation to rectify it, because they don't see me as who I am as an individual. They see me as my gender or my sexuality. And it's sometimes just knowing that makes it feel both helpless and frustrating, but also like valid in knowing that like I didn't fuck up, right? I'm not even saying that in the way of how the right says it, where it's like they say that what leftists do is that when a woman doesn't get something her way, she goes, oh, it's because I'm a woman. That's why I never get anything, because I'm a woman. Like, that's not what we are encouraging. There is a difference to like being aware and like even like sometimes knowing that, right? Like, sometimes that is a valid response, but sometimes it is also just like knowing that that is a potential can help you overcome that a bit. I'm not going to say it's because I'm a woman every time something doesn't go my way, right? Like, I might say it as a joke. When things don't go my way, I'm like, oh, well, that's homophobic. Like, that's not me being for real. I am joking. Sometimes we do like to joke about things. Like, sometimes that is genuinely the actual cause, right? But it's obviously not the reason behind every time something doesn't go your way. We aren't saying that you say that when things don't always go your way, right? Like, that's not what is happening. It does allow you to recognize patterns where this is true, though, because there are instances in which you aren't going to get things because you are a woman, because you are queer, because you are XYZ, right? Like, there are times when that is going to happen. So many of us spend so much time not noticing that because we grow up with it, and it is so ingrained and enforced that, like, we don't even recognize that it is happening. So once you are told that that is something that is happening that you might be experiencing, it is helpful to know, because then you can actively push back and fight against it, right? Like, in ways where you can. Like, it's obviously something that happens a lot is that women are talked over and interrupted a lot, right? Like, in a lot of business meetings and things like that, it is very common for women to be interrupted, to be talked over, to have someone like steal her ideas and like say them and get credit for what she was going to say. Like, that is something that is very real and does happen. And a lot of the time, because we grew up with that happening all around us, we aren't even aware that that is something that is happening, because it's just so natural and no one blinks an eye at it. So once it gets pointed out and you are told, like, do men always speak over you? Because you're a woman and men like to speak over women. Once you are aware of that, you will notice it. And then you can, in those instances, push back and be like, hey, no, I am speaking. Because sometimes you get interrupted, you don't even realize you've been interrupted because of how often it happens. So having that power and knowing to look out for it when it happens, you are able to be like, hey, I wasn't done talking, and like push forwards, right? And that is why it is important to know these things. Opening your eyes to being a victim means that you have more power to push back. Opening your eyes to being a victim means that you can help others to push back, right? You can be a good role model and set an example for the people around you. Like, told that you are a victim in specific places allows you to push back against being a victim. You do not have to fall further into it. Right? I have found finding these things out about the patriarchy and misogyny and like where I am impacted and like noticing when I am impacted, I found that much more empowering than sitting there and ignoring it from happening. At times it can be incredibly frustrating, obviously, because, you know, sometimes there isn't much you can do about it. And being aware that you are being treated differently because of who you are and there's nothing you can do about it, it does feel really helpless and it is incredibly frustrating, but I would still rather know and be aware, right? Like a personal example, YouTube, right? This is something that I've spoken about with a lot of other female creators as well. And that is that we cannot get away with half the shit that our male counterparts do. And it's so frustrating. It is so unbelievably frustrating. Like the amount of like jokes that men who make similar content make, the amount of jokes they make that we would not be able to make without getting completely torn into is astounding. I have watched content from men who make commentary videos, who make, you know, videos where they talk about similar issues and whatnot. Like when they make jokes or they say things sometimes, I'll listen to that and I'll be like, if I ever said that, I would be torn to shreds. And you know what they get? Nothing. People are just laughing with them. That's what they get. Whereas myself and the other women that I've talked to in this field all agree that we could never say that. And on top of that, right, like when talking about like women's issues, feminism, politics, in any sort of way around compassion, men will talk about it in a very sort of shallow, surface level-y type way. And their comments will be full of praise. People will be clipping the videos. People will be posting them everywhere. They'll get so many views and shares and likes and people talking about them. But when women and female creators talk about the exact same issues, but they go further in depth, they talk about it in a like personal way, the comments are instead by the same people, by the way, it is the same people in these comments, saying that they didn't talk about it enough, that, you know, they made a few mistakes in what they were saying, that they weren't careful enough, that they needed to say more, that it wasn't deep enough. And it's the same conversation, but men who say less and are not personally affected by it get so much praise, whereas women get dirt. There's so much less that they get out of it. It is 10 times easier for a man to build an audience on content like this than it is for a woman, because people love when men have compassion because it's unexpected. it's astounding. Oh my God, a man has compassion. But when a woman makes the exact same content, it's just not going to work anywhere near as well. You could have a female creator and a male creator creating the exact same shit, and like 9 times out of 10, the man is going to be performing so much better because he is a man, and because people are always so astounded when men care, whereas compassion and empathy is just expected in women, so it's nothing special. And so people don't engage with it as much. People don't care enough to boost it or talk about it or promote it. And it also, you know, includes in the way that a lot of the time people have that weird subconscious bias that women aren't funny, that we don't joke about things. I learned this quite early on in making YouTube videos, where if I tell a joke, I have to laugh afterwards, and I have to be sure that I keep that laugh in, or people aren't going to understand that I was joking. They're just going to assume that I was being serious, even if I was very clearly joking. I know we can talk about tone and people not understanding tone, but once again, a man can make the exact same joke and look in the camera dead serious afterwards, and people know that it's a joke because people just assume that men are fun and funny and will make jokes, and women do not. They don't need a tone indicator. Why do I need a tone indicator? Why do I have to put a million disclaimers before I say anything, where a man is allowed to just say what he wants and people will just understand? I've ranted about this for a really long time, and I'm sure it won't be the last time, but it is frustrating. And you see it, there's so many examples of this happening in the world, right? Like, the pedestal that queer women in particular are put on is so high. Like, the standard of what we have to meet is absurd. Our male counterparts do not have to like hit that bar even a little bit, and they're going to be so much more successful because the expectations on them are so much lower that people celebrate when they do small things, where queer women, people expect it, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, the most frustrating part about that is that this is not even just happening on the right. This happens from everyone. This happens on the left. This is something that I personally experience. This is something that female creators that I know and speak to also experience. We talk about this. We've had conversations and like vented our frustrations to each other. So I'm not alone in this. And like, yeah, that's really all I have to say. I know my content is different from other people's. I'm not trying to be like, I don't want people in my comments being like, well, maybe your content's just not as good. I know my content's not as good as a lot of other people's, all right? This isn't just my experience though. This is the experience of every female creator that I know. Anyway, just be wary is what I'm saying, right? I'm glad that I'm aware of this and I can see what the issue is, but it is incredibly frustrating knowing that there's nothing that I can do about it other than talk about it, ask you to think before you like speak, right? I want you to like, when you comment on things that women are saying versus what men are saying, like ask, would I say this to a man? Would I criticize this in a man? And when you are watching something a man is saying, would you say, would this bother me if it was a woman? Be open and think about that when you like go to engage with people in either a positive or negative way. That is all I ask. Moving on to another TikTok, because I feel like we've been on these ones for a very long time.
I used to be heavily on the left side of politics. When I was on that side, I would constantly be so triggered and upset if someone had a different opinion to me. I would also search for it. I would ask family members who they voted for. I would ask people just in general who they voted for. I would post things all on my Facebook. Didn't have sources, so no credibility. It would just be someone's opinion. I would be so angry all the time because I was watching other people online be angry. So then I took that anger on and then I would spread that. I would message people and be like, I can't believe you believe that, and block them.
And we end up here again. Once again, they're all sharing sources and saying information without ever looking at it or thinking about it or caring about it even a little bit. And then somehow that's my fault? Like, that's the entire left's fault that these people never cared, never did research? That's not on me. Maybe you should do research. Maybe you should care about things. Maybe you should know what you're talking about. I don't know. Food for thought. This is where the whole conversation around performative activism comes in, right? Like, it's the amount of people who just share these things and go into people's DMs and ask people on the street and question people and yell at people because it gives them a sense of moral superiority. Like, they feel like if they are telling people off and they're being like, you're bad, I'm good, obviously they feel good about themselves because they're like, I'm better than you. And if I tell you that I'm better than you and you get upset, that means I have won and I am a good person. That's not how this works. I could talk about this in particular forever, and I am going to. So once again, if you would like to see my full deep dive on performative activism, please don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell, and I will have that to you soon, because there is so much that needs to be spoken about this phenomenon of just not researching anything and sharing it for moral superiority and like ego. As far as implying that the left have a go at everyone and like slide into people's DMs and yell at them and the right don't, that is so funny to me. That is so unbelievably funny. Conservatives aren't commenting on people's videos, aren't sliding into people's DMs to yell at them. Like, maybe you didn't experience that, but I promise you that it is happening. I quit TikTok 5 years ago due to the amount of conservatives who would comment on every single TikTok just being absolutely horrible and disgusting. A few months ago, I had to put all of my social media accounts on private for 2 weeks. I had to turn all of my social media to private because of how many comments and DMs I was getting from conservative men. And then I had to turn comments off on my Instagram for 2 whole months because these conservative men did not like a video that I made. And so I was getting hundreds of comments threatening harm and telling me to die. But like, no, they're all rational people. They would never DM you unprompted and tell you that you're an idiot and that you shouldn't believe what you do. You should look at some of my DMs. I've had the most absurd DMs. I've had like full essays in my Instagram DMs from men saying the most deranged shit. Like, I've been accused of like genociding white people multiple times. By the way, like, people are constantly yelling at me in my DMs and in comments. Do I go into people's DMs and comments and yell at them? No, I never have. That's not something I've ever done. It's not a requirement. If I'm gonna talk to someone who like voted conservative, I'll have a conversation. I'll ask them why. I can tell them I disagree with them, and then I just won't talk to them again because I don't need that in my life. But like, you know what I mean? Like I know I mentioned this before, but like sitting here and saying that like leftists don't have any sources, we don't have anything to back us up, we're just getting mad and yelling at people who have a different opinion. Like, I see someone who says they vote for Trump, so then I go and like repeat buzzwords that I see. I just yell at them without anything to back me up, no resources, nothing. I'm just yelling and saying things. Like, you are sitting here and telling me that leftists don't have any sources. We're just going and yelling at conservatives with absolutely no backing. We're just going and just making shit up because we want to feel morally superior. We just want to yell at people and we think that we're right all the time, even though we have nothing to back that up. Do you have sources for your new conservative views? Are you using sources presently? Or are you still doing nothing, but now you just feel less guilty about it? I actually don't think I need to ask that. I think we all know the answer because these people are constantly affirming that fact. They are constantly affirming the fact that they just don't care. They don't put any work in. They don't care about anything outside of their own best interest and what makes them feel good about themselves and the way that they live their lives. And they will do whatever it means to continue to feel that way. Like, it's something a lot of these ex-leftists share. This idea that when they were on the left, they were constantly angry and upset and like just so full of rage and needing an outlet and to yell at everybody, and it was pushing people away and making them really unfriendly, and that they were, you know, ashamed of who they were. They were like living in this victim mentality that made them feel small and like they couldn't accomplish anything. All this does is spread light on the fact that they never truly believed in these things and they never actually internalized the point. They never grasped what it is we are saying because they never cared to actually look at what it means and what we are actually saying. Like, yes, it is hard to be on the side that fights for compassion. It is hard to exist in a world where you are constantly noticing bigotry. Like, when you are constantly noticing inequality and like you like take a stance and like live your life trying to care about people and trying to like improve the world, not just for yourself, but for everyone, like that is hard. It can be upsetting and frustrating. Like, yes, that is all true, but I would rather be like upset and like know I am making the world better for other people than be comfortable and like ignorant. I would rather live in like frustration and anger and upset than comfortable ignorance. They say ignorance is bliss for a reason. Like, what you ignore will not hurt you, right? Like, you can sit there and turn away from it and pretend that like women aren't oppressed. You can turn away from it and pretend that all of this bigotry and inequality does not exist in the world because it doesn't affect you or because it benefits you, to ignore that it does affect you. Like, you are going to be happier, but like at what cost? That is just not a cost I am willing to pay. It doesn't stop people from hurting. It just means you stop caring about people hurting. You are taking the stance that is easiest for you, but harder for others. And you are just sitting in a place where you are going to continue to not only allow, but like support other people, including yourself, being hurt because it's easy. And I just couldn't do that. So, you know, you can sit on your privilege where you are and say that, you know, the left is the reason that you were angry and upset and it's all for nothing. But that's just because of you internalizing it incorrectly and never actually putting your heart into it and caring. You don't care about others. And I can tell that by the fact that you now live your life ignoring the pain of other people because that is what is convenient for you. Next up, we have this TikTok that is honestly, like, I don't know if you're quite prepared for it. Like, this is one of the most batshit TikToks I have ever seen. So, let's go.
I'm convinced at this point, Donald Trump is right about y'all. He could literally cure cancer, and somehow people would find a way to hate him for it. And as a former leftist who was deep in the leftist mindset, I know exactly how they would do it. The first thing they're going to do is question his motives. They're going to claim that this cure for cancer is just some kind of political play. All he's trying to do is boost his image. Then they'll claim that Trump is trying to claim victory and take the win for something that wasn't even done by him. They'll say it was the researchers and the institutions that are the only reason why cancer was cured.
I mean, this point is so funny to me because, yeah. Like, yeah, I am gonna do that. Was Trump himself in the lab like, when you say Trump could cure cancer, do you mean that literally? Was, in this hypothetical situation, was Trump in the lab working with the scientists? Was he the one who, like, made the discovery himself? He put it all together and, like, created the cure for cancer. Is he the one that did that? Because if he was, then I will give him credit for that. Obviously, I would be like, wow, Trump helped find the cure for cancer, because he absolutely wouldn't be the only person. Firstly, there's been like decades of work going into it. So it does, regardless, even if he was in the lab doing it, credit would go to him, yes, but it would also go to like thousands of other people as well. They deserve credit. But he's not going to be in the lab discovering the cure for cancer because he's not a scientist. He's not a biologist. That's not something that he could do. He maybe is putting money into it. I would say, cool, he finally put tax money in a good place. I'm glad that he did that. I'm not going to thank him for curing cancer because he's not the one who cured cancer. He doesn't deserve the credit. He's just the guy who's in charge of the country. Like, he put money there, okay. So did so many other people in their donations, right? Like, it's not his credit to take. I am gonna credit the scientists and the doctors and things because they're the ones who actually fucking did it. It could have happened with anyone in charge, like, right? Like, any person could have been voted into presidency and have that happen because they're not involved in it. They give the money, but they're not involved in the process. They don't deserve the credit. And also, this isn't even gonna be an issue, is it? Because what has Donald Trump done? Oh yeah, he defunded cancer research because it was a waste of money. Not only did he take money away from cancer research, they also like threw away a bunch of cancer research that has already taken place because they were like, not important. So I don't think this is going to be an issue because he's not working to cure cancer. He is actively discouraging working towards a cure for cancer. So if this is something that you want in a president, if the cure for cancer is something that you would like, you voted for the wrong person. Let's see what else she has to say about this really fun hypothetical.
Then they'll start taking the morality route. They'll start saying that Trump's cure, if it is rolled out by private companies, is only going to be available to the wealthy and it will discriminate against the poor. And whether it's true or not, they will tell you that Trump's administration is prioritizing profits over equitable healthcare access and that it's only furthering income inequality. They'll say that Trump's cure is a luxury for the elite and that the poor are just left to suffer.
Once again, yeah, because that is what happened. Please explain to me how this isn't true. I will sit here and I will wait. I will wait for you to tell me how this isn't true. Unless they decide to open universal healthcare, unless they made the cure for cancer available for everyone, unless they made it accessible, and everyone, no matter how rich or poor, was able to have that cure without going bankrupt, then yeah, it is elitist. Yes, it is discriminating. Yes, it is furthering the wealth gap. Yes, it is endangering poor people. Like, there is literally no other way to possibly view that. I'm just very confused as to sitting here being like, oh, leftists are so dumb. If Trump invented the cure for cancer, they would say that it's elitist when it gets put out by private companies and only rich people could have it. They would say that, like, they don't care about poor people and they're just prioritizing profit. Because that's literally what is happening. That's literally what your healthcare system looks like. That is quite literally exactly what's happening. I'm confused. But if Trump did find the cure for cancer and he gave it to everyone for free, I would be like, oh my God, that's incredible. That's fucking incredible. Thank you. Oh my God. But that's never gonna fucking happen, is it? That's not gonna happen. So it's like, why even present this hypothetical? Because this isn't even a Republican thing. Like, that's just not happening in your country.
Then the real extremists are going to start coming out. The fringe people are going to start coming in and saying that curing cancer is a moral hazard, that curing cancer will encourage people to participate in more risky behaviors and put their life at risk because they can just be saved by a cure. They'll start making arguments like people can smoke cigarettes for 20 years knowing that it's damaging their health and getting lung cancer, and then they can just be cured, so who cares? They'll start saying that the cure to cancer has incentivized unhealthy lifestyles and that it's going to lead to the uptick in other preventable diseases, which in turn is only going to increase medical costs.
What are you talking about? I do have to laugh though. I do have to laugh because I hate to be the one to break this to you, but this is actually a conservative talking point against universal healthcare. So, like, you know, we, the left, are the ones who are advocating for universal healthcare. I mean, I live in a country where that exists already, but, you know, I'm advocating for it for you. We are the ones who want accessible healthcare for everyone, no matter where you are, who you are, whatever. You should be able to get the healthcare that you need. Yeah, that should be available to you. Absolutely should include the cure for cancer. That's literally the entire thing we advocate for. The people on the right, however, they don't think healthcare is a right. They don't think everyone should have that available. And when you say we should get universal healthcare, they will say, well, then people are just gonna, you know, be unhealthy because if you don't have to pay to get treatment, what's the motivation? Like, this is already a conversation happening and you're looking at the wrong people here. You are barking up the wrong fucking tree because, like, we're not the ones who are having this conversation. We are the ones who think that everyone should be able to get cured no matter what. It's your side that do not think that. It is your side that want people to continue to be unhealthy or to not have any motivations to be unhealthy. Like, that's you. Don't know where you're getting this information from. Did you see this conversation happening from a right-winger, from a conservative about healthcare, and you just copy and pasted it and used it here because you were like, that'll work? Nope. You lost. This is still their argument. If someone came out with the cure for cancer and said that it was going to be available for everyone, it is the people on the right who would be like, whoa. I think that we should have to pay for that because if poor people can have it, then all they're gonna do is smoke cigarettes. Because then why wouldn't they if they can get the cancer cure? You have to keep it inaccessible to motivate people to not do the bad things. Not because I hate poor people and want them to die and want to live longer and have things that they don't, but because I don't want to encourage bad behavior. I'm allowed to smoke cigarettes though, because I have money. They can't though. Maybe take that back, because you look stupid.
And when that doesn't work, then they're going to start flipping to the economy, and they'll start saying that this has disrupted the economy in unseen ways, in ways that we've never experienced before. They'll start taking the angle that it's going to lead to these mass job losses in the healthcare industry. They'll start telling you that millions of people's livelihoods depend on the ongoing cancer research industry, and that a cure would be an existential threat to these workers.
I would like you to find a single time this conversation has happened and come from the left, because I would like to remind everyone really quick that being on the left means being anti-capitalist. It is not about, it's not liberalism, right? Like, being on the left means being against capitalism. If this was an issue and cancer research was successful and now there's no need for cancer research, I don't think we should have to worry about them not having a job anymore. I think that quite literally, if you've cured cancer, you should never have to work ever again and you should live a very comfortable life. I think that the problem, if people who cure cancer are then out of a job and go homeless, the problem is capitalism. And say it with me, what do we want to get rid of? Oh, capitalism? Right. Not our point. Once again, this falls back to you.
And when none of that works, they're going to go out into left field and they're going to start claiming crazy things like overpopulation. They'll say, with fewer people dying from cancer, our resources are going to become even more scarce and our resources are going to be depleted. They'll start telling you that food is going to become more scarce, that resources are going to have to be fought over, that the environment is going to be even further destroyed because there's going to be so many people here.
Going into saying that, like, the left don't want to cure for cancer because then people stop dying of cancer. Like, I don't understand why are there multiple people here talking about how much we care about overpopulation and are like advocating for everyone to die. I'm very confused as to where this came from, because that's not true, and I've never seen that as an argument before. So I feel as though you were living in this like fake left echo chamber where you were all just saying things that none of you knew or understood, and then you all came out as conservative together because none of you cared, none of you said anything, and you were just making shit up. Because what the fuck are you talking about? Maybe think before you speak and actually have conversations with people and not just say buzzwords that mean nothing to you. I think it really goes without saying that these, you know, conservatives that used to be left, they were never on the left. That's not something they ever believed in. It is just something that they said and they participated in to get validation from the people around them, to, you know, get internet points and to have people like in their comments and in their likes and like, you know, feeling moral superiority and getting engagement online because that gives people dopamine. They have always just been conservatives playing at being a leftist. They have just spent all of their time and energy going into people's comments and yelling at them and trying to one-up them. Their entire like leftist life revolved entirely around like arguing that they had the better views, that they were more left, that they had the moral high ground. It was like, it's just a whole bunch of purity politics, effectively, right? It's like going in and targeting other leftists for not being woke enough and for not using the right buzzwords or enough buzzwords, and like going in and being like, oh, well, I one up you because I think this and that makes me better than you, but without actually like knowing what they're saying or actually caring, just wanting that ego boost of like calling someone out and getting, you know, told that they're good for doing it, right? Like when your knowledge of a topic doesn't extend past a 240 character tweet and yet you're still using all of your energy like yelling at people about it, like you don't act as though you actually care or are an actual leftist because you know 5 words, right? And saying them over and over again doesn't make them make sense. It's because of this that it has been leading actual leftists to be like ditching the label leftist in order to distance themselves from this like infighting and this purity politics that has been happening and has been like a growing epidemic for the past couple of years. And not only that, but like this whole thing of all of these people who they exist as really they're not doing anything out of being online. Like we used to call them keyboard warriors. I don't know if that's still something people say, but like these people are just that. They are just like keyboard warriors who don't actually hold any of these actual opinions and are just doing all of this for internet points. And when they don't have any actual resources or information or standing and all they're doing is yelling at people and being defensive, not only is that pushing like people who are already here away and to distance themselves from this label and from like participating, it is also fueling the right, right? It is giving them this like ground to stand on, to be like, see, these people don't have any evidence, they don't have any facts, all they do is yell. You see it with like Charlie Kirk and people going to speak and debate to people, but they like talk to people who don't know what they're actually saying, and they then use that to be like, see, they're stupid and they don't have any evidence, whereas I do, because they're talking to people who are uninformed and uneducated, and oftentimes it is people who just are participating in this to get praise, to get the clout from it. And it's incredibly frustrating because all it does is fuel the right, which, you know, in the end it works for them, because where do they go? They go over to the right when they get bored of playing this game. Like, I wrote 2 full pages about this idea of this, like, logging in online and typing a comment and then logging back out. Like, I wrote so much about it that I took out of this video because I've literally already been here for an hour and a half, and I don't have time to be here for any longer, and I have cut and pasted that into my performative activism script. So once again, if you want to see that and you want to talk about that, subscribe, come back for that. I've told you about it 3 times now. Hopefully this 3rd time is what really hammers it home for you. My overall point in all of this, though, is that it is always the ones who do nothing but get into fights and come into your comments and say that they're better than you that are going to come out as conservative later. Like, they are always going to be, like, if someone is coming out as conservative and from being a leftist, you know exactly who they were when they were a leftist. And unsurprisingly, they're also the ones who are driving people away and keeping people from actually taking us seriously and, like, participating and looking into our views, because when they attempt to ask questions, they get yelled at and just told that they should know. And like, you know, it's like, it's discouraging people, it's sending people away, and it's just so frustrating. It's this thing of like, it's just so frustrating when you believe in something and you care about something and you are surrounded by other people who say that they believe in that and care about it too, and then you later like realize how many of those people are just like bluffing, right? Like when there's so many people around you and you live in this community where you are like, I really care about this, and other people are like, I really care about this, and you go, okay, let's do something, and everyone else is like, oh, I don't care about it that much though. Like, that's so frustrating, and it is such a problem, especially when it's not only do a lot of people like care, but like care light. It's like the amount of people who just genuinely do not care at all, and figuring that out and then later seeing how many of these people just like step out completely. It's just so frustrating and so disheartening. Like when you tell people to go educate themselves and they instead are just like, I'd rather not, because that seems like a lot of work. I'm just gonna like retweet things without actually looking at it because it makes me feel good about myself. Like, if you're watching this video, I have to assume that you do care enough about what you believe in to educate yourselves. Like, you are looking into things. If you have questions, you go look for answers, right? You have conversations, you are actively working on developing your worldview and your understanding of politics and the world around you. However, I do still think it's important to encourage you to do that further. I think that there are always things to learn, there are always questions to ask, there's always more that you could know. And I think that, you know, you need to be confident in what you believe in order to participate in these conversations, especially if you are hoping to actually like get through to someone, right? So, you know, before you go into having these conversations with people, please be sure that you are informed and educated yourself. And if someone points out that you have made a mistake, ask what that is, you know, like figure it out, have conversations. We can learn from one another. And I think that is really important and a really cool thing about being a person. We are all individuals and we all have different stories and we all believe different things, and we can learn from each other. Even if you are hearing someone who believes something completely different to you, you can take something away from that. Don't just be defensive, because that never gets anyone anywhere. Come to a conversation with facts, with points, and with something you strongly believe in. Because if you don't believe in it strongly, you aren't going to be able to fight for it, and you are going to be tripped up. Yeah, so continue to extend your knowledge, continue to deepen your understanding of the world around you, ask questions, be inquisitive, like don't ever shut yourself down to learning. You can always learn more. Yeah, okay, this video was incredibly long, but I hope that you enjoyed. Once again, please do subscribe for more on different types of performative activism and many other topics along these sorts of lines. My videos have been getting longer and longer as time has gone on because I care more and more and learn more and more, so share more and more. See, this is a result of caring. You get me rambling for 2 hours. A huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons: Polar Bee, Sienna, Alicia, Marielle, Bree, Bay the Trucker, Chastity, Beckett, Prismatic Petey, Sushi Kawaii, Phil the Duck, Jessie, River, Queen Glimmer, Ella, Mr. Noodle, Radsack, Knitting Menace, Chris, Ellie, Alexis, and Bobby. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes, you replace the dark